Welcome to Core Women Live. Thank you for joining me. This is my opportunity to feature some very special guests where they talk about their goals, aspirations, challenges, resiliency, wisdom. Join me as I get the opportunity to talk to people about their journeys. Thank you. Hey there, Tony. How are you? Look at you. Look at you. Oh, I forgot my background. Where's my background? Oh, there it is.
I love it. I love it. You caught me right as you're going in. You caught me putting something on my Instagram freaking feed.
You're hilarious. Well, let me, because it's like a 3-ring circus back here. So the reason for that is because, you're trying to speak with the person and then you're over here making sure that everybody sees the live, and that they see that here we are. Okay, so we're on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, we are all over the place right now. So I'd like to welcome to the Core Women Live, Tony Taylor. Woo! Welcome,
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I wanted you on today, even though today is International Women's Day. I thought, you know what? This is about Core Women is not just about women. It's also about men, and it's bringing everybody into the loop. And I so absolutely love what you do in community, Tony. And I love your story. And I wanted to bring you on here so you could share that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Are you trying to make me cry already? What's up with that? I was looking at, at least 20 minutes in, but yeah, no, I appreciate that introduction. I love what you do too. I love what you do too. I think that it is amazing.
Thank you, Tony. I certainly appreciate you. So let's kind of jump into your story. So you spent time in the Marine Corps. You were a fire captain, you were a corporate CEO, you've done so many things, and now you're an entrepreneur inspiring people around the world. So I want you kind of to talk about where you grew up, how you grew up, what that looked like for you, and let's go from there.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I wasn't a corporate CEO. I'm the CEO of my company, but not a corporate CEO. Don't put that evil on me. I appreciate it. I grew up in Gary, Indiana. It's a small town in Indiana. It is my hometown, born and raised. And one day I was kind of just looking around and just thinking about all of the things that I was going through, all the things that the people around me were going through. And I just said, you know what, there's not necessarily a future for me, right, in this hometown. So at 17, I said, you know what, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps, and it absolutely changed my life. It changed my mind. It just redirected everything that I thought that I knew about myself, everything that I thought about humanity. And I'm so glad that I did it, because I feel like it just kind of gave me a boost on life. I went from the Marine Corps to working for the Department of Defense, fire department. And then from there, that's when I went to safety. But what I'm doing right now is I'm working as a full-time motivational speaker, trainer, and also personal development coach, specializing in leadership and adversity. And I absolutely love what I do. And it's really given me an opportunity to give back to humanity. And I think that that's really important. And it just, I don't know, it just fires me up just to have that purpose to, especially to do stuff like this, pour into people. Oh my God, I can't think of nothing else that I would rather do instead of being here with you right now.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Your journey is so special. And just being like, going back to what you said about the Marine Corps. So I was a military spouse for 21 plus years. So I know what that looks like. And I know how difficult that can be and that journey. But it certainly does open people up for a different perspective about life. And it's also a great stepping stone for folks, to get out and kind of learn about their own values, because the Marine Corps and the military has a mission. They have a mission and they have their own core set of values. But from that, you also understand and start learning about your own values and what those are. Did that help you kind of see that see the mission for the Marine Corps, but also determine and establish your own set of values and what that
No,
looked like for you?
yeah, definitely. I think especially for me as a kid, I would I would be involved in so many things. I would say, okay, I want to go play baseball. I want to play basketball. I want to box. I want to do like all of this different things. And I was one of those kids that I would quit, right? I would quit and stuff. Just the moment that I would get uncomfortable, I would say, you know what, this is not for me. And sometimes it's good to quit. And I learned that. I'm learning that as an adult right now. Like it's okay to say, okay, this is not working, whether it's a partnership or what. But by joining the Marine Corps, there was no quitting in that. Like once you're in and you have to be committed. And if you're not committed to the mission, you're not committed to those core values of, honor, courage, and commitment to the people that are around you, you're going to get called out like quickly.
Yeah.
And it was that sense of like community that I loved. I knew that, somebody had my back, they weren't going to let me quit when I wanted to quit on myself. And that was just all part of, I think, the maturation of who I am today, right? I'm still growing, but I really don't think that if it was not for the Marine Corps that I would be the person that I am today. And that's going from, not having my father in my life and, having to basically, learn everything that I know from women. Like women have, and I'm glad that I'm on this show today because women have been my absolute core. I have so much respect and gratitude for women. I just plugged you. I didn't even do that on purpose.
I was going to say, you just gave it a plug.
No. But I mean it. I mean it. And I have so much, respect and gratitude, for women that it is ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh, well, that is awesome, Tony, because, I think it's really important. We launch from our values. That is our launching pad of sorts. That's what I call it. And so that the Marine Corps kind of established a whole ideology of, we have a set of values, and they really live by those values. It is important because they are service. They have a mission, and we all have a mission of sorts, right? But if we're not clear on our own values and what that mission looks like, then we're kind of all over the place. But I like what you said. I liked what you said a lot about we have to realize that we can not necessarily reinvent ourselves, but re-strategize. And sometimes that picture looks different as we mature, as you said, through that maturation process, right? Mm-hmm. So that looks different. And you have to be okay and have the courage to say, you know what? I actually am going to feel okay with doing something different.
Yeah.
By changing something a little bit, by yada, yada, yada. And that is so important to see. So there's something that got me about your story that I'd like you to share with the viewers today.
Uh-oh.
And I know. We're going to go down this road. We're going down this road, Tony.
I love it. Yeah, let's go.
Here's the deal. I want you to tell us the story about what prompted you to just go for it and, to kind of change your whole journey. Because when somebody told you that you couldn't accomplish A, B, or C, what happened? How did this happen? Tell us that story about childhood from your childhood.
Yeah, like I said, I've had a very strong core of women in my life. Basically, the women in my family, they run our family, right?
Yeah.
So they've always, we've always had like our separate, different types of relationships. They've always been kind of like a sense of my mom, like an extension of my mom, or different moms. I can tell them certain things that maybe I couldn't tell the others, but they've always pushed me. But when you're growing up in the place that I grew up, that was, stricken by poverty, right? Stricken by poverty, gangs, drugs. I was growing up in an area to where Gary, Indiana had been a place that was known as the murder capital of the world. So for me, I grew up, right? I grew up, having this fantasy, right? Having this fantasy of, when I grow up, maybe I'm going to be a ball player. Maybe I'm going to, be this like illustrious person, or kind of like a drug dealer, right? I was trying to figure out how can I say that in the proper way. But those were the people that I kind of like aspired to be, right? But it was those women that were in my life that showed me, hey, you don't necessarily have to be that. That's not who you want to be. But to get back to your question, how did I keep going and kind of like focus in on what my goal was, I don't know. I failed a lot, right? I failed a lot. I had outside influences, and I just had to get this clarity, not only about like how the world works, but how I work, what it is that I need. And that happens, I feel like every couple of years in my life, where I had to reinvent myself or make myself better. Right. Yeah.
Now, well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that counselor you interfaced with, that teacher, that counselor. Let's talk about that person that really set a fire in you. That inspired you. Maybe, as you said, when we talked previously, maybe you weren't inspired for the right reasons, or maybe she did light a fire. Yeah.
No, definitely. That's funny. I forgot that I told you that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Because that's a biggie. That really just like boom. It just hit my heart, and I was like, wow, holy crud. Because tell the story, and then I'll add to that, because it really could have just kept somebody down. And it didn't. It did the opposite for you. And thank goodness it did. Thank goodness you got up from that.
Yeah. So it's kind of a long story, but I'll shorten it a little bit. Like I said, I was living in the house with just, me, my mother, and my sister, and, we're doing our best, doing our absolute best. And then behind me, I had a high school counselor, and I would go and I would cut her grass. I was a young entrepreneur. I was always thinking of ways that I can, add value. I'm not even gonna lie and say add value to our household, but add value to me and the things that I wanted to get. So I would go and I would cut grass all the time. I was one of those kids like kind of, going down the street with the lawnmower, freaking, I'll cut your grass. But one of my customers was the counselor across the alley from us. And we had a pretty good relationship, so I thought. But it was during the time of graduation. I think it might have been like, 6th or 7th grade graduation. No, it had to have been like 8th grade graduation. And I was kind of like practicing. We're doing that thing. And I have ADHD. So I'm like fidgeting and just kind of, I don't know, just playing that out, fidgeting. And, even I have it right now. That's why I always have something that I'm like doing, so that, people don't think that I'm just so distracted that I'm not paying attention to them. Right. So it's something I'm conscious of. But in this moment, this counselor, she saw that I was messing around and, talking to my friends, and she went straight to, you're not going to graduate. And not only are you not going to graduate, but you're not going to be successful. And you are going to be a failure. She actually said this. She said this to me in front of my whole graduating class. And it took everything inside of me to just not like break down. And I remember it was that moment where I said, wow, I can't believe she just said that to me. I'm a kid. I'm not going to internalize that. I'm not going to like manifest this thing about myself, because I was very aware that, the words that we say to each other matter. I was always considerate of that words were strong. And I was just like, you know what, I'm going to use this to propel me. And it was something that I've never forgot those words. And I still hear those words sometimes. And it's just, I remember when I was getting my degree, multiple degrees, I would hear her words say that you're going to be a failure. And then I would hear my mother and my aunt's words. Well, first of all, my mother was getting ready to go across the alley, right? And
right.
Put on her because, that's what was about to happen. But I remember kind of talking this out with my mom, and my mom saying you understand that what she is saying does not have to have dominion over your life. Right. And I remember internalizing that and just saying, you know what, it don't, I'm not going to let it. So in a sense, she was a mentor to me, like throughout all of these times that I've, overcome adversity, whether it was, me sleeping in my car, whether it was me, fighting for custody of my kids and being a single dad. Right. It was those moments where I can hear that voice. Not bringing me down, but pushing me up to, always like saying, you know what, I'm going to prove, not only I'm not going to prove you wrong, but I'm going to prove myself right, because I am righteous and I will succeed no matter what you think about it. And it wasn't until probably a couple years later, not later, but a couple years ago, where I realized that she was in a bad spot in her life. I realized that she was having some, identity issues within herself. So she was hurt and she was pushing that hurt on me. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I didn't take that hurt and transfer it to somebody or something else. So yeah, I love that you bring that up. You're trying to make me cry again, but yeah, it's just those moments. And that's why oh man, I'm a firm believer in, words can have a divine meaning over you and your life if you let it. Yeah.
I like how you didn't spin that, but turn that around to use that to your benefit.
Yeah.
Because that, in many cases, would have kept somebody down. And you were able to understand that and apply that in your life. That gave you the energy to succeed in the ways that you wanted to succeed.
Yeah.
And we all have those people who have said one thing or another, and how you hold on to that makes a difference. How you react versus respond to that makes such a difference.
Yeah.
And your response to that was, that's bullcrap.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on and I'm going to do something with my life.
Yeah.
And yet you may not have fully grasped what that all meant. And that was probably really hurtful for you. I mean, not to lie. I mean, anybody says something like that too. We've all had things where people have said stuff to us where like, oh man, that hurts. But what we choose to do with that makes a difference.
Yeah,
it really does. And I think that's a really important message here, Tony. And the reason I wanted you to tell that story today, because what we choose to do with some of the messages that we receive day in, day out throughout our lives makes a difference. But I also want people to know that you've got it in you to be that resilient person, to work through those hardships, to work through those things that people are saying about you, to you, because there are people out there that want to be a support.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think I think we have to let those people in, let those people in and not be so jaded, right? Not be so jaded to where we're not letting the positive people in, because I've had so many different positive people in my life, people such as yourself, right? Like we've never physically met, but I consider you one of my good friends, you and several other people, where I'm just like, man, that is such a meaningful relationship. And that's one thing that I want to encourage people to have those relationships. You know what I mean? Like to have those relationships is so important. Yeah.
Well, and I think here's something really significant. When you feel and you know that you meet somebody and you can let them in and you can connect with them, it's because also the way that they will allow you into their life. There's that authenticity. There's that genuineness. There's that openness about, I want to receive and I want to embrace you. And there's that ability to do this right now. We're going through some really different and unique times. I don't use words like crazy time or difficult time, because I know it's unique and different for each of us. And those words, every time we say those particular words, crazy, challenging, blah, 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 those are what stay in our mind. Those are what create the brain map, right? And so I try and stay away from some of those words, because I don't want that to create a brain map in me or for others. What I'd like is, yes, this is a unique time. Yes, we have the opportunity to pivot. Yes, we have the opportunity to meet people in a different way. It's so funny because when you said you were in the Marine Corps and we're in this unique time, what I remember is, and what I hold on to is, wow, when my husband was in the Marine Corps and he was just starting out, the way that we could, yeah, right. Hoorah.
Yeah.
The way that we could connect with each other was solely through letter writing. That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. So
Yeah.
to have these resources today, it's like, woo, this is awesome. I know we've got some fatigue. I know there's been a lot of changes going on. I know there's been a lot of loss for a lot of people, but there's a lot of really great things too that have come out of this, in that, you know, we have a different way of seeing how we want to progress in our personal life, in our professional life, the people that we meet. I would have never necessarily had the opportunity to meet you.
Right.
So I'm like, holy cow. I am really fortunate today about all the people that I've met and have had the opportunity to connect with, like yourself, Tony. And it's been, you are so #inspire.
No, I love that you say that. Yeah. It's funny. I kind of had when this thing first started. Hold on, give me 1 second. Sorry.
Sure.
When this thing first started, my brain immediately clicked because I was manifesting something. I remember telling my wife, honey, I just wish that things could slow down, probably 2 weeks. 2 weeks before, like, everything starts shutting down, right? I just wish that things could slow down because I really have this desire in my heart. I want to focus on the things that I'm doing right now. I remember telling her that. And when it happened, of course, like, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe that this is happening. And I'm thinking about the school, I'm thinking about work. And at the time I was working full time as a safety executive. I'm in charge of, thousands of people, right? I'm in charge of thousands of people and their safety. And I'm also in charge of the safety of myself and, my kids at home. So it's like, I'm managing this, right? I'm managing at work and the things that are at home. What are we going to do? And then I remember it was this moment where I was sitting in my office and I had just got off the phone, with somebody, and, I'm trying to calm everybody down. And I'm like, I manifested this, not for everybody else, right? But for myself. I manifested this for myself. This is a horrible, horrible moment. However, I think this is the moment where not only I grow, but this is the moment where society grows. So what can I do to be like the water, the sun, the dirt to help grow? What can I do? And I'm just like, I remember telling my wife, like, oh my God, honey, this is happening for a reason. Remember, we were talking about that. This is happening for a reason. Like we can control some pretty cool things right now. And that's what we did. We focused in on our kids. We focus in on our marriage. We focus in on our business. We focus in on like so many different things. I started calling and talking to people that I wouldn't necessarily have time for, or they wouldn't necessarily have time for me, but we were just connecting. And it was just this beautiful thing and this beautiful process. And I don't know, and I think that's what everybody did in the beginning. But then you started seeing, the different posts on like Facebook, please pray for me. I'm going through this and I'm going through that. And it was just like, I felt like, I'm like, man, I feel like we need to come together. And what can I do to come together? And that's kind of when like my business just kind of went full circle to where I'm like, you know what, this is what I need to be doing 100% full time.
Yeah.
And the minute that I started doing that was the minute that I started waking up every morning and actually looking forward to, doing the things that I was doing, because I didn't have the corporate restraints on me. And it was just like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful time and such a beautiful moment that we can take advantage of. And it was just amazing. There's a bunch of people that have done it, just like yourself, just like a bunch of different people that I'm connected with. And I think that is amazing.
Well, I also think it's amazing. And I think about these things as well, Tony. And I think, after this, there's going to be so much regarding quarantine stories and what came out of that, and like what developed and what grew from that. So, I watch the news quite a bit, and yet every night my news station covers, the losses. But I like how you say, how could you give back? How could you be the sun? How could you be the soil? How could you be the water to nurture and to give back and to grow? And I think we're going to hear more about these incredible stories during this whole pandemic, during this quarantine. So I like how you said you woke up one day and you thought, you know what? I need to be doing A, B, and C full time. I don't need the corporate restraints. And you felt your why. You work through this with your family. And this why wakes you up every day. Your why gets you excited. Your why keeps you going. Yes, we have our whys, like our family and our kids and our dogs. But a lot of times, and this is what happens with a lot of military, and I've worked with a lot of military, it's about purpose. Finding your why, finding your purpose. And when people separate from the military, a lot of times they feel like they've lost their purpose, because the military isn't just, and you'll know this, I'm sure, isn't just a job, it's a lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a culture.
Yeah.
And it's something you live, breathe, day in, day out. Did you feel like you had kind of lost that purpose when you separated from the Marine Corps? Or did you feel like, hey, this actually prepared me for my purpose?
Yeah, I think it was both. I think it was both, because I don't think that if it weren't for the military, I don't think I would be able to connect with people the way that I'm able to connect with them right now, right? And experiencing all the different cultures, the different ideologies. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be able to connect. But there was a moment when I got out of the military. I was lost. I was 100% lost. I remember going to a job and seeing everyone eating, and it don't have to be this way. There's companies that I think that have fixed this, but the culture was so different and so not like a community, to where you'd see people eating their lunch in their cars. And I'm just like, wow, right? In the military, like we would all go and like eat lunch together, or, hang out in our cars together, but you would just see like this separate, like all these different like separate pieces. And I just didn't understand it. And then I would get like bosses that would feel almost intimidated by me. And a lot of military, and I'm pretty sure a lot of military former veterans, they can recognize this, but they felt like that we were there to like take their jobs. And I'm like, no. I'm here to help you. I'm here to assist you. I don't want to take anybody's job, but I'm your friend. And it's like, how do we connect? And I went through that period, and I feel like I got it figured out. And I felt like I owed the veterans. And that's one thing that I'm really big about, is, reaching out and helping veterans get gainful employment, because I went through that period of, working at a prison. Nothing against, working at prisons, but it just wasn't for me. But I was told that was the only thing that I can do, was mechanized infantry, working for Blackwater, or working at a prison, or, maybe I can get a job at the sheriff department. And I just remember saying, those are not the things that I want to do, and getting job offers for like below minimum wage. And like, it was just a mess, and I just didn't understand it. So I think that was the most challenging part. And I feel like a lot of people, they get stuck in that part of the transition from being in the military to being a civilian is because of that lack of community. But the people that are getting it right are creating the communities and joining the communities outside. Oh my God, there's so many different organizations and programs to where veterans can go and feel exactly the same feeling of fulfillment, right? And working with these groups and giving back to humanity.
Right.
And that's kind of what my mission is. It's just a little bit different from most veteran organizations, but it's just that, that person that's just telling you, hey, man, you can do it. I know that you just got let go from your job, but this is not the end of your story. Keep going, right? And that's what a lot of my messages are geared around, is not just the military, but just people that need that sense of community, people that need those positive and kind words, those affirmations from other people that can get them going. So I would never say that, the military didn't help me. It definitely raised me up 100%. It raised me up and kind of formed me into the person that I am today.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it really does give a foundation to begin with, a launching pad of sorts, right? And it was the same for my husband. He joined at a later date. He joined at 24. And so basically, if I look at him today and think, if he didn't join the Marine Corps, where would he be? Where would he, because it really was his starting point. It really gave him some grounding and some roots. And so, and that was awesome. But I like what you said about how, you can have that sense of community even when you get out of the Marine Corps, when you get out of like the subculture that you're in, where you feel kind of lost or have lost the purpose, so to speak. Because when we got out, I asked my husband, I said, do you feel a loss? And he's like, no, I'm ready. Like he had been years, and he was like, I'm ready to go. But I think that when he went into that federal job, that government job, he did see exactly what you saw, where there was that lack of connection, that there was that disconnectedness, that lack of community. Because what I feel like people miss, especially from the military, is that camaraderie. That exercising together, that eating together, living in barracks and, whatnot. And it's like,
we hate it when we're in.
Yeah, right. But then at the same time, it's like, you've got that motivation. You've got those people who are aligning, because you're all kind of launching from that same core value structure.
Yeah.
And yet, this is what's so cool. That gave you that foundation, that model of what this could look like for you when you got out, what life could look like. And you created your own value structure. And that's what I constantly ask people. I say, we've been taught from our clergy, from our parents, from military, from whatever it is, right, throughout our life. But here you are. You don't have to adopt everybody else's values. Understand your own. Understand your own and live in congruence with that. Because if you live by somebody else's set of values, you won't feel right. That's not living in congruence with yourself. But here's the thing, figure it out. And I love that you figured it out, and that you're out in community, spreading that inspiration, spreading those values and that light and that education and that just the value that you bring to community is so important. Thank you, Tony. Thank you for what you saying that. Thank you for what you do, and being the sun and the water and the essence of what's going to help others grow. Even if it's that glimmer of, he gave me that idea today. Yeah. He gave me that seed. He planted that seed that I have value, that I can do whatever I set my mind to. And that is so important, because there are still teachers out there, like the one who sent that message to you or gave you that message. There are different people out there, but remember, it's from here, how we respond to the world, to our community, to our families. And then how we take action, right? Yeah. And knowing that you're not alone. I always like to say that we're not alone. So as we come to the close of this interview, Tony, and I want to thank you so much, because you do a lot. And so I want to ask you two more questions. Can you tell the folks what you're doing, and repeat that, because you did mention that a little earlier in the interview, but tell folks what you're doing now, and then I'll ask you my last question.
I'm getting bossed around by my wife. No, I'm just kidding. I say that because I know. No, I say that because I know she's watching. But yeah, I work as a motivational speaker, and what that involves is basically just spreading the message of not giving up. I'm working with a few or several Fortune 500 companies. They bring me in when they figure out that there's some sort of deficiency. I would prefer that they bring me in before the deficiency, but that's what we're doing. We're doing the motivational speaking, and we're working and doing the 101 coaching, and that's through leadership and overcoming adversity, because I feel like that it goes hand in hand, and that's pretty much it. And just spreading that message of, you can do it. The message of you're important. You're here for a reason. This pain that you're going through is only for a season. Keep going. And that's one thing that, I brought up before, as far as, that one teacher that was able to kind of shed light on me. But there was another teacher, right? There's another teacher that was positive and poured into my life. And that is the person that I want to be to everybody else, is that sunshine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. So how can people reach you?
I am on all social media platforms. All you got to do is write in Tony Taylor Inspires. My email address is info@tonytaylorinspires.com. Reach out to me if you want to, have a conversation. If you have an event or you're looking for a personal development coach, I'm your person. If you want to just talk, I'm there for that too. It's just as important, if not more important. So, yeah.
My very last question, and I end every interview this way. If you could leave the viewers with some words of wisdom, what would they be?
If I can leave, say it again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Leave the viewers with some words of wisdom, what would they be?
That's how I would say, as far as words of wisdom, the words of wisdom that I would have, and this is the very first thing that I thought about this Monday morning. It is Monday, right?
Yeah, it is.
The very first thing that I thought about was how I would wake up when I was working, in the corporate world. I would wake up and I would be, so overwhelmed sometimes. I got this, I have this, I got to do this. And then after I get home from work, I have to provide this, right?
Yeah.
But there's one thing that I would tell the viewers and also listeners is slow down, right? Slow down. That's the only way that you're going to be able to have any kind of clarity in your life. Slow down and appreciate some of the struggles and some of the pains that you have, and also look at yourself 5 years from before. And I want to guess, all right? I want to make a guess that you were wishing and hoping to be in the position that you're in. So acknowledge that. Acknowledge how far you've came, and acknowledge that those different angst or those different pains that you might have, like, you asked for this. And this is a good thing. This is a good thing. And the next 5 years, there's going to be some aches and pains in that. But this is all a manifestation of your goals, of your dreams, and the things that you asked for. So live and breathe in that struggle.
Such wise words. Thank you so much for being on the Core Women Live with me today, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you, everyone, for joining us out there today. Thank you so much. Take care and have a lovely day.